The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good morning and welcome to Guardian Radio AM. Today is finally Monday, August 24th. Is a little after 11 o'clock in the morning. Once again, this is C.A. Newry, and I shall be your host for the day. The numbers to call are 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. And if you are calling from the family of islands, the number is 242-300-5720. Of course, the text lines are powered by BTC, and the number there is 422-GR96. That is 422-4796. And a reminder that the standard text rates apply. Today, we're going to be joined by my guest co-host, Ms. Siobhan Johnson. Right, she should be joining me from via Zoom, and of course, Siobhan is a risk management corporate governance specialist. She's going to be tend to analyzing. I pose questions to her, like what should be happening, and also she does like internal controls, outsourcing, third party risk. And information security. So all of that specialty she tends to bring to the conversation. So I'm going to have a conversation with her regarding that. There's a number of themes I want to talk about today, but Siobhan is away. So let me greet her and see where she's at and why she's where she's at. Good morning, Siobhan. How are you doing today? Are you joining us via Zoom?
Yes, good morning, and good morning, Bahamas.
Where you is?
I'm in New York City.
Doing what?
I took my last born, Kyra, to college at Fordham University.
And how is that going?
I'm feeling a little separation anxiety.
I can imagine.
But I'm also happy she's not calling me, so that means she's okay.
In terms of parents who go and drop off their children abroad, what does that entail? What do you do? What you go there to do?
So you move them into dorms, you get them checked in, their fees have to be paid, and so you have to get clearance if something isn't in order. So you have to make sure that they're in the best classes. You have to network. You have to start networking on campus so that you make sure that they're getting connected to the things, because you're going to be not there. And then you start, like in my daughter's dorm, there's like 7 persons. It's an apartment. So it's just understanding the parents, where they come from, what they're going to be subjected to, and then you leave them and pray.
So there are different parents there dropping off their kids too?
Yes. It was freshmen moving.
Now, I have girl children. You have a girl child. I can't imagine me leaving my girl child, say she's 16, 17, and just leaving her in that big United States with all kind of strange things be happening, especially my black child. How is that as a black professional woman leaving your good child in the United States?
Well, I think in general in the Bahamas, we do a good job of preparing our children for when they leave us. My daughter is very responsible, very outgoing, so she's not shy. So she actually was in boarding school for the last 2 years in Long Island. So she's used to taking, now that was what was fearful to me, taking the subway and the trains. I still am not comfortable. But you just, honestly, you have to pray and trust that you did a good job, and this way it gets tested.
Okay. And congratulations to your daughter. I wish her all the best. I can't wait for her to come back home and start telling stories of what all she experienced in that big country, United States, especially New York in general. But let's start our conversation.
Let me just quickly say, because I saw tons of pictures, to just send a shout out to all the parents and all the students that have traveled all over the world, for that matter, and wishing them all the best in this school year.
Go ahead. Okay, good. Excellent. So let's start our conversation. This weekend, the whole Bahamas had blackout. I mean, when I say the whole Bahamas, all over New Providence and sections, they had rolling blackouts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. I have now accepted that. That's part of what is going to be happening this summer. The Prime Minister then speak and explain that this is a growing phase. They have a plan on addressing this, but at this present time, it could be some hot days and some dark nights moving forward. So I'm not necessarily talking about the whys and the wherefores of why there's blackout at BPL. I don't want to get into the politics of it, but I want to use your specialty, risk management, in general. What should the company be doing? Because I'm mad, I vex, I don't care what excuse they're giving me, but I want someone to make me feel that you're listening to the plight I'm going through. Using your specialty, what you do, that risk management and looking at stress and stuff like that, checks and balances. What should the company be doing?
So I would say if we just scan the internet, if we scan social media, you could tell that it's definitely a balancing act. So risk is about managing something to an acceptable level. You can't ever eliminate all risk completely, and so at this point, what you can do is manage it to an acceptable level. And that acceptable level is going to be different for different people. And you have to accept that for some, there is no acceptable level. If they feel if they're paying for a service under the license, you're supposed to deliver reliable power. If you don't do it, it's just unacceptable. Now, some of us that are reasonable know that, if you look across the US, Gary and Indiana, et cetera, earthquake, whatever, you could have disruptions for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, we have a good story to tell with BPL and we have a bad story to tell with BPL. What I would recommend is do not avoid the bad story because people are not going to be more forgiving, right? The reality is it's crossed I think in 60 years, we've crossed over what we should have done. So that includes everybody and not doing the best that we probably should have done in the public's eye. And so it can't be what we are insulated and thinking and telling ourselves that we're the best and we're great and we have these great plans. It's what people are processing. Some people are reasonable. They're willing and understanding that, hey, this is for some of the investments and the disruptions are for the long term. Some are not happy because they're like, well, why aren't we more prepared for this? Why, I see us spending money. Are we doing the right things? Do we have the right people? Because risk covers everything, right? Making the right decisions, having the right people with the right skill sets. It's broad. And then when it comes to what we should be saying to people, I think that BPL has channels. They have a WhatsApp channel, they have social media channels, they go live, they have the briefing. They have the opportunity to be at the Prime Minister's office every week when they do the briefing. So they're talking to the people. I saw on, I think it was Shanique Miller Live, there was the question is the same question, like, are we communicating sufficiently, et cetera. But the reality is when someone is miserable, they don't really want to hear a speech, right? Like they don't want to hear all these things because the story to tell is not ideal, right? If we really get into the history of BPL, it's not a perfect story. So really, if it were me, I would be focused on reaching out. If I were the government, I would look at whatever, because the reality is my issue, like even me personally at home, I have to probably look at getting a new refrigerator. So I can listen. So I'm one of those people that have experience with BPL. So I understand some of the issues. But what I hate is that if you have a policy in place that allows me to apply for a new appliance, it's not a good process. It's not a friendly process. And like, for example, some people, when they write in on the claims process, they never get the claim because at the end of the day, their wiring isn't good. So BPL basically could say it really wasn't the power that I sent to your house, it's that your wire couldn't accommodate it. And so the importance of using proper licensed electrician gets almost lost. These are some of the things that they could talk about a little more because you cannot control when the power is off, how much power they need to send back through the lines to restore power. But if your wiring is improper, it's going to cause problems. And so at the end of the day, this is to me where those type of consumer education should be a little bit louder now. If there's any concessions available on if because the utility cannot deliver me reliable power and I have to spend more money on diesel for a generator, are there any concessions being considered from that perspective, right? So I think a PR strategy around any type of concessions would make people feel like they're feeling our pain and they care a little more. And I'm not saying that they don't care, but just PR is about, communicating and reaching people on their level.
You
And on
mentioned
some people,
concessions. A
yeah.
number of Bay Street vendors have said they need some kind of rebate. I'm not sure if BPL could afford that, but I don't know if there has been any type of conversation, public conversation on what can BPL do for their consumers who are vexed,
So
who are losing money.
it's a catch-22, right? Some of those businesses have made a lot of money. And so a part of risk management is planning for known bad things that can happen, including prolonged power outages. So, if you have to invest in redundant power so you could continue making money, some people can afford it, some can't. But I mean, when we look at like a Bay Street, I mean, some of those businesses, I don't have the numbers from inland revenue, but I think they could afford a generator. And if they're making, like, if you think we used to do in my different client bases, we do analysis when we determine when we're going to invest in business continuity strategies, because that's what it is. It's a business disruption, right? It's a business disruption due to inconsistent or unavailable power. So you have to calculate if I miss, with all these numbers with the tourists coming in, if I miss a day or 2 days or a week of clients selling to clients, is it worth the cost, the annual cost of having redundant power? And so when you do the calculation, you have to make that decision. So I don't know. I think that the government can't be responsible for everything in business, right? Like a part of business is that if something happens, that you have a backup plan. So if you can't only blame the government for that.
Before we transition to another topic, what about the people on the family island who've been off for the week? What can BPL tell them?
Boy,
Besides, sorry.
uh, having had to travel to some of the islands by boat and seeing how isolated they are, I think that as a country, we realize that everywhere is in Nassau, right? And like it's an archipelago and everybody doesn't drive to get there. They cross bridges, they have to go on boats, ferries, etc. So when you have a massive disruption like that, I just think that there are solutions in the world. This is me personally. I think that there are solutions in the world. And I think that the communities are probably willing to help pay if it will restore temporarily some quality of life to them and quality of business. And in some cases, it's necessary with people who have, health challenges and they need it. So I think that we have a lot of friends around the world that probably have solutions that are short term. Obviously, long term is to get the grid back up and running and resilient, but there must be short term solutions deliverable on this island that I like, for example, somewhere like Harbor Island to me is ripe for private public partnerships. There's a lot of wealthy people from all over the world that come to our country and to our family islands. And so we need to be a little bit more creative. When you drive on the road in Orlando, I remember when they were building the bridges, you had to pay a penny tax to have highways built to alleviate congestion. So if people are coming, the boaters are coming, everybody's coming, maybe there's a way, because a lot of them own Airbnbs in the family island as well. And so when we don't have power, they have to cancel bookings. So I think we should not look at creative ways that the government can probably look at finding a way to have our visitors also contribute to growing because a lot of the growth that we experience is to accommodate tourism. And so there needs to be more creative ways to allow the infrastructure, which is not obviously resiliency and infrastructure hasn't developed at the pace of growth.
Okay, we're switching subjects now. I want to get your opinion, especially Gia's specialty for this. It's a report. Police are investigating two separate sexual assault allegations involving a 14-year-old girl and an 18-year-old woman, both reported on Sunday, August 23rd, 2026. The first incident was reported at around 3:45 p.m. by the mother of the 14-year-old, who alleged that her daughter was sexually assaulted by two men known to her. According to reports, the victim was picked up by one of the suspects who believed to be a taxi driver on Saturday, August 22nd. The suspect was reportedly dropping off customers at various locations. While at a business establishment, another man entered the vehicle and the group traveled to a location near a service station. At the far eastern end of the station, the two men allegedly mixed a drink for the teenager that caused her to feel drowsy. Despite her objections, both men are suspected of sexually assaulting her inside the vehicle. The victim was subsequently taken to hospital for medical examination. The second incident was reported at around 6:30 p.m. by an 18-year-old woman at Wolf Road Police Station. The woman told police that at approximately 3 p.m., she received a video from a male friend showing a man she knows engaging in sexual intercourse with her without her consent. She reported having no memory of the incident. The woman recalled that she and a female friend had visited Awaki on Saturday, August 22nd, where they consumed several beverages. At around 10 p.m., they returned to her friend's residence in Camp Road. During that time, a man allegedly approached her and asked for sex, but she refused. She suspects that she may have later passed out, explaining her lack of memory, and only became aware of the alleged sexual assault after viewing the video. Both matters are under active police investigation. Now I'm going to do your risk management skills. Now, women should be allowed to wear, dress, go wherever they want. There are some men who tend to blame women, saying, oh, if you wasn't out here, this wasn't going to happen to you. It seems as if something cultural is happening now that we need to address, because there's a number of females, women, who are complaining that they're being drugged. They passed out. And it seems as if a number of Bahamian men are taking advantage of this. When I was younger, when I say younger, I was 10, 9. The big boys who were 17, 18 used to talk about this thing called Spanish fly. I didn't know what is Spanish fly, of course. Okay. I see that as being sold at the Chinese food stores and restaurant. But this, when I was 10 years old, the big boys used to say, the girls like these things, right? You secretly put in their drink, and they become amorous, right? Mm. And they were telling me, teaching me, coaching me, that when I get 16, 17, 18 and start my dating, that a part of my dating courtship is I need to go to the store and buy this and put it inside a drink. So this is where I'm saying perhaps this is getting cultural, that it's being taught from one generation to the next generation. And now this generation has, like they say, the chicken has come home to roost. They are now practicing this. Have you heard about any of this, what I'm saying? And what can we do to protect Bahamian women? When I say Bahamian women, I mean all women in general, right? Being the Bahamas, protect Bahamian women, and to teach our young boys who are now becoming men that it's a woman drunk. You can't be putting things inside people drink. That's not dating. That's not sexy. That's not attractive, but that is rape.
So I would say I'm glad you went back to when you were a young boy, because these type conduct is learned behavior. And in one of the stories, I think with the 14-year-old, it was 2 males. And so then the person has company endorsing the behavior. And the reality is the Bahamas, even though it has been happening, it didn't just happen. These are things that have been happening. It didn't happen. It didn't feel to happen as much. Maybe it's because we're talking about it more. But one thing I could say is there are things that work, right? There are things that, I go out all the time and I see young ladies leaving their drinks. I probably even did it once or twice. And that's just not acceptable anymore. You literally have to always cover your drink. And then you have to educate yourself, because now there are new forms of these things they could blow into your face, all kinds of stuff. Like, I try my best not to travel alone anymore, because you just can't trust the bad element that's out there. When I was younger, I know bartenders used to be a big ally to this. They used to get to know you. They would know who the bad players were, and they kind of steer you away from them. So I don't know. I think that I would personally like to see a lot of the male-based organizations speak up about this. I see, when I look online last week, I saw Women United, I saw First Lady Anne Marie Davis, I saw other women-based organizations speaking out, but I want to hear the men. I want to hear some putting out a call to the lodges, to the police association, to all of the male fraternities, help us to retrain the males by seeing males saying that this conduct is unacceptable, because some of them won't accept it from a female. It's never okay to take advantage of someone who is vulnerable, and it's certainly a crime if you basically put something in someone's drink with the intent to take advantage of that person. And I think we definitely are getting a lot of people would not report these things, right? Like rape is known to be an underreported offense. So I'm happy, you're sad to hear it, but I'm also happy to see more women having the courage to speak out and report what has happened to them and go through the process. And on the other side, I think that there's been movements. I think there's an establishment of, I can't remember the organization, but like a special unit for sex crimes, or there have been more support for them. And I think that's what's needed, because a lot of women said they didn't report because of the way they were treated when they went to the police. And I think the police force has been trying to make it easier and be more supportive to persons who've been a victim of those assaults. But I definitely think from young, like you said, it happened from 10. Like we have to start from early, from primary school to high school, having I think it would be preferential to have males talk to males and tell them that this is not acceptable to do this.
I see we have a telephone call. At least the person just hang up, but they can call now because someone wants to engage you. And I know that you mentioned that there are a number of women's group and professional women who came out and denouncing this new trend, because it seems like every other day. And this week alone, it was about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different incidents reported in the newspaper of sexual assaults throughout the Bahamas. And in those 5, there was 3 that mentioned of being enumerated, drugged. So it seems, I don't want to say that it seems to be a trend, and that's me speaking loosely without any facts or data. But if it is a trend, right, there's clearly a need now for groups now to be speaking on it. Police need to engage and tell people that drugging women, it's a criminal offense and you can get locked up. So that conversation needs to be had.
I think the other thing too is that, when I was growing up, I wasn't as friendly with adult males. I think that the lines have completely become blurred, and that, for whatever reason, our society just encourages that. And I think that used to be a level of protection for us as children, where we did not feel comfortable engaging adults of the opposite sex on that level. But now, like a young girl going into a car with 2 men, I don't know if they were known. I don't remember if they were known to her
They said
or
the
not.
taxi driver was known to her.
Yeah, that wasn't encouraged, and so I think that the churches, the communities, the families kind of need to reinforce what was reinforced to us, that you're not safe. You're not safe. You just don't know. And when I don't have the statistics off the top of my head, but I'm sure the crisis center probably has actual statistics of how many persons were known to people who were the victim of sexual assault. Mm-hmm. And when you look through the stories that have happened in the last few months, a lot of these offenders were known to the person. So you're not really safe. You have to keep your guard up. You have to stay vigilant, because you're not safe.
Yeah, so I have 2 callers who want to engage you. So let me see if I can get them on the line now. Let's do this. Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me?
Hey, great show, usual. See how you doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, man. Okay, I'd like to chime in on 2 topics, right? Mm-hmm. The generator topic, right? Walmart has generators now for $4,000 some. So generators now are actually more a need nowadays than a want. You need a generator nowadays. So you might as well just make the investment, because we can be in this power crisis for a little while now. Mm-hmm. Second thing I will make a note on, right? With the rape culture, right? You realize this pain breaking out for me years ago. Remember years ago you would go to Junkanoo, right? And if you're stupid enough to walk past a group of people doing Junkanoo, right, you can get free up. And you remember that was actually normalized, because you know fully well once you walk past a group, that can happen. So why stupid enough to walk past a group? The reason why I'm bringing this up, right? All this stupidness, these people don't read it. You got to be stuck on stupid to jump in a stranger car nowadays and expecting that to happen. You can't be that stupid.
I appreciate
Think about it now. All these rape going on, all these killings going on, all this crime going on, and your dumb self can jump in a stranger car.
I hear you.
Think can happen?
I hear you.
Certain things in life have to be self-inflicted.
I hear you, caller, but men ain't supposed to be taking advantage and raping and sexually assaulting women. A woman should supposed to be. See, I have a rule. Anyone who I drop in home, I have to make sure they get home safe. Ain't no type of strange conversation inside the car when you're inside my car. The car is supposed to be a secret space. You're safe, right? But these men nowadays just don't have no respect for themselves or it's a talk, and I'm going to let Ms. Johnson respond to this, where a number of women are saying that men hate women. And they now are concerned and writing men off in general that there's a contempt. And I want to know your opinion, but we have so much calls who want to talk to you now, so let me let them engage you first before you respond to that. Go ahead. Oh, hold on, press this button. Go ahead, caller. Guardian Radio AM. You're live.
Yeah, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you again. So
Good morning.
That previous, that last caller, he living in a bubble, Everybody know he rich. So he could talk like that, like he isn't living in the real Bahamas where some people just can't afford what he may be able to afford. Okay? Now, in respect to the generator issue, I heard the lady, she said that when you mentioned that some downtown business merchants are upset, she said these businesses made a lot of money. That isn't the right response to a crisis when you find people being out of electricity for so long. It is the government's responsibility to provide this essential service adequately. So you can't just say people made a lot of money, so that doesn't do it. Now, in respect to this raping, I've been a strong proponent now, CA, you know this now, for over 20 years. Mm-hmm. And my voice would some describe us crying in the wilderness. And I've gotten nowhere. Sandra Ann Patterson came along before me, and through her advocacy, I think they would have gotten the Sexual Offenses and Domestic Violence Act implemented. But when you look at that act itself, it doesn't have enough teeth. And that bill was passed, I think that was passed somewhere around in 1989. Today, it still doesn't have the legislative teeth. How about the policymakers lending a voice to this? Who could do something about it? We, talking to young men, wouldn't do anything if the penalty is just a slap on the wrist. It makes no sense. We need to show that we are against raping, especially underage children, by implementing stiff and harsh penalties. What you talking about? Talking to the men, let the men, and do what? What can happen when the men talk? Mm-hmm. Would you think it would change if the policy is if the law just gives these young men a slap on the wrist? That doesn't cut it. And too many voices out there are speaking out on this issue, and we're getting nowhere. It seems as if that we have a very, very high tolerance for this type of deviant behavior. Until we have a zero tolerance approach to this, nothing would never change, no matter who is speaking out on it. Okay. That's just my take on it.
And I appreciate that, man. Oh, the next person hang up. Oh, it's the person call back. Go ahead, caller. Guiding Radio AM. Talking to Mr. Vaughn Johnson.
Mr. Newry.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning to you there.
Yes.
Good morning.
Mr. Newry, I think with this, when it comes to this rape business, I would not call it a culture. It's not a culture. That's nonsense. This raping nonsense. We need to go back to basics. We need to go back to good parenting. Sit and talk with your young men. Explain to them the reasoning behind why they should or should not do certain things, and let them know what the penalties are for it. Talk to your young women, whether you know someone or not. If you're going to catch a ride with somebody, before you do, you call your parent. You say, listen, John stopped just now and asked me if I want to ride. Should I catch a ride? Now, if something happened, then that's on John. Because John knows that you speaking to your parent in his presence, he's going to think twice. That's how I feel. He's going to think twice whether or not he should or should not, knowing that you just told your parents in his presence that you're catching a ride with them. We need to go back to basics where we are teaching. I just talked to my 17-year-old young son. I just talked to my 25-year-old son and my 20-year-old daughter, and I just explained to them as well. And they always tell me, oh, mommy, okay, I get it, okay. Because they tell me I talk too much. But at the end of the day, when you get out there and you do something, you can't say you did not know.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate you, too.
You understand?
Yes.
Teach them the importance of not catching families. If you notice, even in other countries around the world, a lot of the rapes they say happen by people known to you. So we need to teach our kids. Let's get back to basics with that.
Yes. This text says there's a couple parts to the problem. We ignore budding problems until they become a crisis. I text multiple times about a string of women being abducted, warning that something was happening, but nobody was talking about it. The police commissioner should have been all over the airways in schools, churches, everywhere, warning women and men. We ignore uncomfortable topics until they're in our face, and we need to stop loose sex talk on radio. Do you think our culture and how we talking so freely about people's personal bedroom business is now impacting, like social media? That's all you go on Facebook. That's all they talk about. We're going to take a quick break here, Ms. Johnson. We're going to come back. We can either continue that or we can talk about Papa. Papa say the FNM needs to find a leader that they can win with. And I want to know, is this proper in political circles to, I don't know if you call that undermine, but this political intrigue is just different. And I want to like to know what should be done in political circles. In your expertise being involved in terms of risk and crisis and stuff like that. But we'll be right back. This text says, castrate all rapists. This is Guardian Radio AM. We'll be right back.
Players. Percy's pension plan is now accepting applications. Deposit $25 and you are officially in the running for a weekly salary of up to $1,000 a week for a full year. Applications close September 8th. Apply now at theislandgame.com. Headed to South Florida soon? Holiday Inn Express in Plantation welcomes you to the heartbeat of Florida fun. Whether it's business or pleasure, the Holiday Inn Express is close to sensational shopping, captivating dining, and nightlife. Elevate your Florida experience. Sleep well and rest easy at Holiday Inn Express. Complimentary breakfast buffet featuring seasonal favorites. Keep up your fitness routine in our 24-hour on-site fitness center with cardio equipment and free weights, or take a refreshing swim in our outdoor pool. Your special Bahamas tourist rate awaits. Holiday Inn Express, 1701 North University Drive, in Plantation. Book your getaway now. Call directly at 954-472-5600 or the sales department for reservations and additional information.
We're gonna give you a check every week for a year. Percy's pension plan, Island Game, keep you winning. Percy's pension plan, dream big, we will help you live it. Percy's pension plan, Island Game, we got you. Percy's pension plan, from the friends you can trust. If winning is a must, go play the game you know, cause your best chance is with us. The most trustworthy name is Percy's Island Game. So put 20 on your account and ride this easy train at Percy's Island Game.
September 8th soon come. I'm just letting everybody know September 8th soon come. Attention Island Game players. Percy's pension plan is now accepting applications. Deposit only $25. That's all, a mere $25, right? And you are officially in the runnings for a weekly salary up to $1,000 a week for a full year. Application closes, like I said, September 8th. Apply now at theislandgame.com. This is a promotional gaming campaign, of course, and it is not an insurance policy, pension fund, retirement savings plan, or an investment product or any regulated financial service. I just want to make sure I mention that. In the Nassau Guardian editorial, it says the headline reads, FNM should prepare to move on from Pintad. It starts off, say, as the Free National Movement FNM observed the anniversary of its historic 1992 election victory last week, former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram challenged FNMs to find someone they can win with. Ingram bluntly acknowledged the public did not want what we offered. The FNM support has plunged since Dr. Hubert Minnis-led party to victory in 2017. In that election, it received 91,409 votes and won 35 of the 39 seats in the House. In 2021, again under Minnis, the FNM got 46,000 and 30 votes and won 7 of the 39 seats. In 2026, under Michael Pintard, the party got 49,537 votes and won 8 of the 41 seats. The FNM also lost 2 by-elections with Pintard as leader, the West Grand Bahama and Bimini by-election in 2023, and the Golden Isles by-election in 2025. Ingram message was to the FNMs generally, but in between the lines, there was also a clear message to Pintard. Cecil Wallace Whitfield was a damn good man. That's how the quote goes, by the way. But he couldn't win. Let me read that again. Cecil Wallace Whitfield was a damn good man, but he couldn't win. Kendall Isaacs was a good man. He could not win. He did not win. And they decided themselves. They decided that they could not win. They looked for somebody who could win, Ingram said. I guess he blowing his horn. Your job is to find who could win for you, whoever that is. And I could stop right there and let you comment, because you do politics at times. You know how politics goes. I found that an odd conversation publicly given, right? When you know the whole Bahamas watching and listening, right? Especially with a sitting leader. And I believe that if you want to lead, you put a challenge the leader and win. What do you think about Mr. Ingram's commentary?
I feel that there's only one Hubert Ingram. I think he's always been outspoken and says what is it? Says what he means and means what he says. And I think that's been consistently him. I think that he's no longer the leader of the Free National Movement. So basically, whoever is or whoever wants to be, you take sage advice and you do with it as you wish. So I'm used to those type conversations, as you alluded to being in more closed meetings. But in this era, I don't know the benefit of having it more publicly done. I like the concept of, because there's a concept right now in political parties where people don't feel free to speak openly about things that didn't go well, that they could correct and make better without feeling victimized. So, you have a voice like that just says what needs to be said, probably, and hopefully it will result in, because at the end of the day, whoever is the leader of either party, if the party wins, they become our leader. So I like healthy governance. I like healthy democracies in every institution, so including political parties. So if that needed to be said, it needed to be said. So now it's what you do with it. Do you stay in your feelings, or do you go and reassess what needs to change, find someone else? Like what I found interesting is when he said, because I think the same thing happened with Celindan, right? That you have persons that had built a party, and then they say, but we need this person, somebody else with a different charismatic, that could connect with persons to seal the win. So if we go back in history, it's not the first time where someone who was the major person driving something wasn't the one selected to take it forward. So it's not a new concept, to me anyway.
What you think about airing party business outside?
I just think that we're just in a different place, in the Progressive Liberal Party, you have something called the council meeting, right? Historically, what happened in the council meeting, for the most part, they could have tear each other apart, and then you talk, you walk out as one, right? And I think it's similar in the Free National Movement.
Like you say, all
Now,
the business. They ain't similar.
no, I was going to say now you have all these social media. It's now very monetized, right? Or believed to be monetized. So it's just different. And in some cases, it's a ploy. It's a ploy to influence public opinion to an end. It's all political, and I think that some people who say they want to be in politics don't really embrace the ugly side of politics. And the ugly side of politics, sometimes someone you expect to be loyal will not be loyal because they want to achieve a certain outcome or they've made backdoor deals. So it's just what it is today. Like people, they're thinking they want to be heard, they want to be seen. Like I think back in the day, we came from a place where we were doing things with a purpose. Now it's, more strategy for certain outcomes.
Okay, we have some people who want to engage you. Let me allow them to have their chance. Go ahead, caller. Garden Radio AM, you live. Caller, you live. I can hear you. Turn down the radio and go ahead. I gotta go move on. If you didn't hear me, that's 1, 2. Clear the line there, Kermit. Go ahead, caller. Garden Radio AM, you live.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Newry.
Good morning.
Good morning to your wonderful guest.
Yes.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's hard for me to determine what is a healthy democracy with so much hypocrisy. I really and truly still, when you read it, it's just hard to determine because most people really have no idea what it is. And most people won't accept a healthy democracy. And really and truly, because activism would be the order of the day, lack of suppression, lack of censorship, et cetera. But I didn't call for that. What I called for was, firstly, a quick comment on the officer who was charged with the young baby in the front seat. I just, as a person who grew up 3 children and they're alive, that's unacceptable for me. I'll just say that. I don't want to comment any further, but it's unbelievable that the child was unsecured in the front of a vehicle. That's very imbecilic, but I just wanted to comment on something that I should make conscious to the public, right? As relates to these emergency outages at various entities that should be always with power, because no man knows the hour. Now, when it relates to standby generators, it's very simple, The reason why they call it standby is because they need it for that. But for you to be running an entity that's a necessity, to have one generator fail and then say it failed is unacceptable for me. I'm very sorry because you need more than one generator. That's the reason for having equipment. When you have the hotels, you have standby, you have more than one boiler. So when one goes down or one chiller goes down, the other one is there. So you should have more than one standby generator. And so the generators, they should be on a test run at least once a week or once a month for 60 minutes to 30 minutes. And so they should run without load and with load to get rid of condensation and internal temperatures, to stabilize internal temperatures with a cool down period. So these things are necessary. So it's unacceptable for me. You could have qualified engineers, but you're running on one generator telling me in the 21st century that one generator failed and the equipment people who life support depend on these things. That's unacceptable. So who is responsible? Who's the genius responsible for this type of scenario? That's all I'm saying, It's unacceptable. Give thanks.
Thanks very much. Let me read these texts so we can have you continue, Ms. Johnson, on your commentary. I have another call. I want to make sure everybody have a chance to contribute. Let's go to this caller. Go ahead, caller. You live.
Hi, Mr. Newry.
How you doing?
To you and one to your guest.
Yes, good morning.
I want to comment on what the former Prime Minister did, right, at the anniversary where they had for him. I personally feel like he was out of line, right? To discuss something like that should be done privately, right? Because everybody, he's, the leader of the officers is the man, right? You don't talk to people like they're a child. You understand? He was totally out of line of what he did. Thank you.
I hear you. I mean, it definitely caused shock waves. People start talking. Some people is getting used to Pintard for a bit and say, okay, we'll wait till convention come And then if we want to challenge them, they'll do it then. And all of a sudden, the conversation has started. The war drums is now beaten. People are ready for a revolution. Let's start all over.
Can I just say something? Years ago, before his death, may he rest in peace, I said to Bradley Roberts, I said, you know, when are you older people going to step aside and let the next generation take over? He said, when it was my time, we didn't ask permission. We took over. So I don't know, like, okay, you could say there's respect and all that, but the reality is in politics.
I shall
when they-
challenge you there and ask you from history, who challenged Lyndon? There's only been 2-3 leaders in the PLP. Bradley was talking foolishness. Bradley was talking foolishness. He never challenged. They never challenged on a soul in that party. There's Pingland, and then he gave 2 people, say, hey, I can't make up my mind because 2 of yours are my favorite. You and BJ can be deputy at the same time. And then, then BJ said, I'm tired of yours because you promised me I would have been leader. I can start my own group. And he left. And then after that, you had Mr. Christie became leader. There was no challenging. I can't give one chance, one time. No one challenged Christie. Who challenged Christie? Not a soul challenged Christie. Bradley was talking to hear himself. Don't listen to him no more. Don't listen to Bradley Roberts. I mean, you can't do that no more. Anyway, let's go to the caller. Let's make it a point. He's talking folly. Let's go to the caller. Go ahead, caller. Guardian Radio AM.
Okay, Mr. Newry and your guest.
Yes, that's Mr. Vaughn.
2 quick points. One, the message that Mr. Ingram wanted to send at his age, it shows what most of us are battling with, as the lady alluded to, with not knowing when to move off the scene and knowing how to support the youth. I mean, God has just gone into leadership. I can remember the history, the career of Mr. Ingram. He just did, when he went into leadership, he didn't win F&M. Calvino became PM right away. He had to allow his vision to grow, and I think it's only fair that he should have used his time, that last little bit of time on the earth, to be more spiritual led at the end of the day, because you can't say he ain't the man for the job, but whoever it is need to show up. That means you don't even know who you want to meet your party. Now, secondly, with this power program, I think now is the time for the government and the country now to start to look at options, assessments. Persons should now start to get energy assessments. Homeowners should now be looking at what size systems that they would need, how much would that system cost. Even though they can't afford it, they should be planning and budgeting. Okay, that's what I see our country does. We complain, but nobody's planning and budgeting. So I'm saying to the country now is the time to get with an assessor, as like myself, an energy assessor, and get what system size you think you would need in order to produce power for yourself, so you don't be gridlocked or tied in to what's going on in terms of right now. Because yes, we can talk about the problems, but at the end of the day, if nobody's putting their foot forward to get information on what system they would need and it'll cost, then we still ain't getting nowhere as a nation. Okay? And that's my advice to us as a nation. Now that we know that there's a problem with the power, could we please just sit down as a nation and determine how much homes would we need to grid tie or put on solar, how much it will cost each farm needed, so everybody can start the budget right away for a basis.
I appreciate you. Let's read these texts and then have Siobhan say the last words. So I wasn't walking through a group of boys at Junkanoo. I was minding my own business, waiting to catch a bus through Frederick Street when a group of young men approached me. And that was that. Nobody came to help. Nobody told them to stop. I'd agreed rapey behavior was normalized in the 80s. I believe they went underground, laughing in the dark, rapey bars about what they do to who. Training the younger generation of rapey men. Where is the police commissioner? And this person is giving a testimony of them growing up and saying that it definitely is a culture and was being groomed from in the 80s. So all Ingram did was open the door wider for Mr. Lincoln Bean. That's what the text there. CA and guess I voted for a prime minister, only a member of parliament. Under the system, he is the prime minister for those of us who voted PLP. That's who That's why 2/3 of the population is not represented. Let's read this one. It says, "Good morning."
I don't agree with that.
I can let you respond to that right now. Good morning, CA. With the energy crisis in Luthra, we can't make plans from day to day because of the uncertainty of the power. It causes anxiety and loss of appliances. And now you can respond. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that, not saying that the Right Honorable Philip Brave Davis is a perfect prime minister, but one thing you'll see a lot of persons who support the Progressive Party complain about is that resources, support, contracts, etc., goes to non-supporters of the Progressive Liberal Party. And I think that is something that the Prime Minister, meaning that we could say other things about his legacy, but we cannot say fairly that he has not been a Prime Minister for all Bahamians. That I don't agree with. I think, and I'm not saying it's balanced, it's perfect, but I don't think that when he demits office, you could say that people across the spectrum did not benefit to the resources of the country under Philip Brave Davis' leadership. So I just disagree with that.
This text says, there's a segment of society who won't seek out forbidden activity, but if you make it accessible to them, they'll indulge. They are most at risk because they can develop addictions. You saw this with gaming. The rise in gaming addiction was not among long-term gamblers. It was persons for whom the dopamine rush was a new thrill. We will see the same. We will see the same when they make marijuana okay, and then we have sex talk. All the same mechanism and addition. Anyway, it's 12 o'clock. It's 12 o'clock. We got to go straight to the news. Thank you very much, Siobhan. I welcome you again for next week to be a part of the show. This has been Guardian Radio AM with CA Newry. You have a wonderful day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.